Welcome to chapter 11 of the book of Genesis, and the title is Tower of Confusion. I'll begin with reading some of the Greek, then we'll go through the chapter. Kein pasa igi helos en, ke phoni mia pasi, and all the earth was one lip. Language, basically, it used tongue in the last chapter, the glossa for language, and here it's the lip. Well, they're not all one lip. That's a figure of speech, one language. And one phony, a voice. We have the word a phone, telephone, one voice to all. So after they all came out of the ark and populated the earth, they were apparently all speaking one language, is what the Bible is saying. And it came to pass in their moving from the east. So they were over in Ararat area, which was been Armenia, the eastern part of Turkey. So they're coming across. They found a plain in the land of Shinar, and that would have been where Babylon lies, a plain between the Tigris and the Euphrates River, which pretty well run parallel until up towards Assyria. Then the Euphrates curves and goes across to the northern part of the Mediterranean. And so Babylon was sort of in the southern part of that area called the Mesopotamia. Meso is middle, Potamos is a river. So Mesopotamo, middle of the rivers. And a man said to his neighbor, "Come, we should build plinthus." You can add that to your English derivatives book. We have the English word plinth. "And we should bake them in fire, and the brick became to them as stone, and asphaltos, tar, was their mortar." And they had a lot of tar in that area because of the oil coming up out of the ground, seeping up out of the ground, tar pits. And so this would have probably been in Babylon, because it mentions in the last chapter about Nimrod building the city of Babylon, kind of made it a center of the theme of this chapter and the last. So now they're making bricks. And the brick became to them a stone, and tar was their mortar. And they said, "Come, we should build to ourselves a city and tower, of which the top will be unto the heaven. And we should make to ourselves a name before the being scattered upon the face of all the earth." Now, why they knew they were going to be scattered upon the face of all the earth, I'm not sure. But the building of the tower, the highest tower, ancient tower that's in existence, is the Great Pyramid of Giza, almost 500 feet tall. And then we have the tower that was in Babylon. And here's a picture of what it might have looked like. And it wasn't as large as the pyramid in Egypt, but it was fairly large. And you can read it, and it says its name is Etemenanki, roughly translating to the house of the foundation of heaven on earth, was supposedly a towering architectural triumph dedicated to the Babylonian god Marduk, constructed by strategically arranging massive layers of bricks and tiles. Such massive monuments were called zigguratu, or ziggurat, which basically means rising building. In this particular case, the place was probably the largest of these ziggurats, and it was possibly built within the confines of the ancient city of Babylon. To that end, many researchers have likened it to the actual Tower of Babylon mentioned in the biblical book of Genesis, with the literary work pointing to the geographical location of the legendary structure. And so they were building this tower. And then verse 5, it continues, and the Lord went down to look at the city, it might have been Babylon, and the tower, which the sons of men built. And the Lord said, behold, there is one kind and one lip for all. And this they began to do. The things now shall not fail from them all as much as they should attempt to do. Now this shows that God has a control over what man is doing, and the progress of man can be stopped by God's intervention. And this is exactly what happened here. It makes me wonder, we're trying to go to all these other stars, doing pretty good, considering that God would do something to halt man's exploration in the outer space. That's just my wondering. And then, for some reason, all of these people speaking one lip, the things that now shall not fail them from them all as much as they should attempt to do, thinking that we have all the power, we can do everything, like I'm sure a lot of scientists today feel in the United States, maybe in the world, don't consider God's intervention as anything. And so man can be doing all sorts of things that could be dangerous even to man himself, such as crossing DNA, RNA with an animal, with a human, and who knows what all kinds of horrible things can come forth from that. In verse 7, it continues, come, and going down, we should confound now there's the language, their tongue, and there's the plurality of God again. We see it even in the 7th chapter. Now who the we are, it doesn't say, but it's more than one person. This is plural. That they should not each hearken to the voice of their neighbor. And so confusion is what's going to happen. The place will be called that. And it continues in verse 8, and the Lord scattered them from there upon the face of all the earth. And they ceased building the city and the tower. On account of this, the name of it was called Synchisis, confusion. They call it the Tower of Babel, which is fine if that's it, but it doesn't say, does it, that it wasn't bad. Now it changes to the people again, the names of people. And these are the generations of Sem. And Sem was 100 years old when he, we have Genesis, procreated, has to do with the beginning or procreating. We have the word Genesis, the name of this book. And he procreated Arphaxad. So Arphaxad apparently was his first son, the second year after the flood. Now, he might not have been too. It brings Arphaxad out for some reason. Now we're into the genealogy that we'll find in Luke 3 of Jesus. And Shem lived after his procreating Arphaxad, Pente, 5. We have a Pentagon, 5-walled building in Washington, D.C., where the military resides, and 30 and 300 years. And he procreated sons and thigateras, daughters. That's almost a transliteration if you change the theta to a d. And he died. And Arphaxad lived 135 years, and he procreated Cainan. There's the double dot, diaresis, So you split the pronunciation with each letter of the vowel, the alpha and the iota. So it's ka-i-nan. And then the other last dot accent gives you the place where you give the accent to the word. If it was ka, and the double dot was over, if it was ka-nain, where the alpha and the omega are at the end, then it would be the pronunciation without a dot on the beginning. It would be pronounced with the accent on towards the end of the word. Hope I didn't make that too confusing. And Arphaxad lived after his procreating Kainan. Now I did miss the accent here. 330 years, and he procreated sons and daughters. Now remember, it says man would only live 120 years, and that was before the flood when God said that. They're starting to live shorter lives as we go down. By the time of Abraham, it's way shorter. And he died. And Kainan, I got the accent there, right? He lived 130 years, and he procreated Salah. And Kainan, another mixed alpha, after the procreating Salah, 330 years he lived, and he procreated sons and daughters, and he died. And Salah lived 130 years, and he procreated Ever. And Salah died after his procreating Ever, 330 years. And he procreated sons and daughters, and he died. And Ever lived 134 years, and he procreated Phalek, or Peleg in the King James. And Ever lived after his procreating Phalek 370 years, and he procreated sons and daughters, and he died. And Phalek lived 30 and 100 years, and he procreated Ragav. And Phalek lived after his procreating Ragav 9 and 200 years. Now it has Reu in the King James. And he procreated sons and daughters, and he died. And Ragav lived 132 years, and he procreated Saruk. And these are now all in Luke 3, where chapter or so before it didn't have all of these names from Shem. And Ragav lived after his procreating Serug 207 years, and he procreated sons and daughters, and he died. And Serug lived 130 years, and he procreated Nahor. And Serug lived after his procreating Nahor 200 years, and he procreated sons and daughters, and he died. And Nahor lived 79 years, and he procreated Thara. And Nahor lived after his procreating Thara 129 years, and he procreated sons and daughters, and he died. And Thara lived 70 years, and he procreated Avram, and Nahor, and Aran. Now, in the Greek here we have Aran, for Haran is in the King James. It's very confusing because next we go into the place of Haran in Assyria, but so you could get the two mixed up very easily, except you can't in the Greek because there are two different spellings. So Aran is the name of a person, and Haran with a he, which looks like an X, is Haran. So these are the three brothers, sons of Terah, Abram, and Nahor, and Haran. Aran. It's hard for me to get change it over. And these are the generations of Thara. Thara procreated Avram, Keton, Nahor, Keton, Aran. And Aran procreated Lot. Now, if there's no other vowel, then it's obvious the accent is on the one vowel in a word, Lot. And Aran died in the presence of Thera, his father, in the land in which he was procreated in the region of the Chaldeans, maybe in Babylon area. And Avram and Nahor, two brothers, took to themselves Ginecas wives. The name to the wife of Avram was Sarah, and the name to the wife of Nahor, Milcah. She was the daughter of Aran, which was the brother that died. So basically, this was his niece, who he has now, Aran's niece, and that Nahor had. And he was the father of Milcah, and I put, and this should be Aran. I should get rid of that H there. If I can do that, probably not. Oops, got rid of the whole thing. Aran was the father of Milcah and father of Iscah. And this was a sister of Milcah, apparently. And Sarah was sterile and not able to produce children. And Thara took Abraham, his son, and Lot, the son of Aran, I should change that, the son of his son, that is, he's the son of Terah's son. Terah's up here. Terah took Abraham, his son, and Lot, the son of Aran, the son of his son, and then that continues. Terah took the son of his son. That would have been Lot. And Sarah, his daughter-in-law, the wife of Abraham, his son, and he led them from out of the region of the Chaldeon, which is Babylon area between the rivers down in the southern part of Mesopotamia, to go into the land of Canaan. Now, why they're going way over to Canaan, I should have a map here. I'll put it up in the next video. And they went from down the two rivers. They went from down Babylon all the way up and following probably the Euphrates going across. And then south of, you would go through Lebanon and down into Canaan, which was sort of between Lebanon, and then Egypt was down even further. Maybe I can add maybe a picture here while I'm saying this, and you can see what they are. And were the days of Thara in Haran, and this is correct, 205 years, and Thara died in Haran. So exactly where Haran, I think they think it was up like in Assyria, up at the top of Mesopotamia. Now, I'm not exactly sure why they consider that, but now Abraham is off with Lot. Now, I think if we go into the next chapter, and so we'll find out what happens in Nahor. Chapter 12, the Lord speaks and appears to Avram, and I think this is the seventh person that the Lord is speaking to. I'll have to go through that list and find it, but I believe that's what it is, and we'll find out what the Lord has to say to Avram in chapter 12. Hope you'll join us. Until then, God bless.